100 Habits of the Richest People on the Planet. We went through dozens of studies, hundreds of interviews, and thousands of millionaires and billionaires, and pulled together 100 specific habits that genuinely set them apart from everyone else. We're starting at number 100 and counting down to number 1, the single most important habit of all, which closes out this video. Stick around until the end, because habit 100 looks small, and habit number 1 changes the way you think about money completely. Number 100. They make their bed every single morning. A small win at the start of the day sets the tone for everything else. 99. They drink a glass of water right after waking up before coffee. 98. They plan the next day the night before, instead of scrambling in the morning. 97. They keep their phone away from the bed for the first 30 minutes after waking up. 96. They write a short list of just 3 main priorities for the day, nothing more. 95. They regularly revisit their goals, instead of setting them once a year and forgetting about them. 94. They track their spending at least roughly every single week. 93. They avoid impulse purchases by taking at least a 24-hour pause before any big expense. 92. They buy reliable used cars instead of new ones just to show off. 91. They live in homes more modest than they could actually afford. 90. They automate a portion of their paycheck into savings, so they don't have to rely on willpower. 89. They set aside at least 15 to 20% of their income on a regular basis. 88. They avoid credit card debt almost entirely. 87. They don't take out loans for things that quickly lose their value. 86. They invest consistently, rather than try and time the market perfectly just once. 85. They reinvest dividends and profits instead of spending them right away. 84. They understand at least the basics of finance, stocks, bonds, compound interest. 83. They read company financial reports if they're investing in them directly. 82. They build multiple income streams instead of relying on a single paycheck. 81. They treat real estate as one tool among several, not the only strategy. 80. They read at least 2 books a month, mostly nonfiction. 79. They read about more than just money, psychology, history, biographies too. 78. They listen to podcasts or audiobooks during commutes instead of music just for entertainment. 77. They keep a journal or short notes about how each day went. 76. They write their goals down by hand instead of just keeping them in their head. 75. They regularly revisit and refine their long-term goals. 74. They wake up early, many of them at least 3 hours before their workday starts. 73. They get enough sleep instead of sacrificing it for 1 more hour of work. 72. They exercise for at least 30 minutes a day. 71. They pay attention to nutrition without being obsessive, just intentional. 70. They get regular medical checkups instead of ignoring their health. 69. They manage stress through specific practices, meditation, breathing, walking. 68. They set aside time for solitude and reflection instead of filling every minute with noise. 67. They say no far more often than the average person. 66. They protect their time as their most valuable resource, more valuable than money. 65. They delegate tasks that don't require their personal involvement. 64. They hire experts instead of trying to figure everything out themselves. 63. They surround themselves with people smarter than them in at least one area. 62. They choose who they spend time with deliberately, not by accident. 61. They stay in touch with people who gave them honest feedback, not just compliments. 60. They seek out mentors older and more experienced than themselves. 59. They become mentors themselves. Most self-made, wealthy people actively mentor others. 58. They invest time in networking with a clear purpose, not just to check a box. 57. They regularly message people whose work they admire with a specific question or offer. 56. They listen more than they talk in meetings and negotiations. 55. They ask clarifying questions instead of jumping to conclusions. 54. They make decisions quickly once they have enough information, instead of dragging it out forever. 53. They're not afraid to admit mistakes publicly and correct them fast. 52. They treat failure as data to analyze, not as a verdict on themselves. 51. They went through serious failures before finding success, almost without exception. 50. They don't give up after one failed attempt in business or their career. 49. They try a new direction if the old one clearly isn't working, instead of stubbornly repeating the same thing. 48. They know when to walk away from a project that isn't worth the time invested. 47. They think in decades, not just the next quarter. 46. They're willing to sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term results. 45. They don't chase status purchases just to impress people around them. 44. They ignore other people's opinions about their lifestyle when those opinions aren't based on facts. 43. They stay optimistic even during hard periods, without ignoring reality. 42. They believe they can influence their own outcomes, instead of relying purely on luck. 41. They take responsibility for their decisions instead of looking for someone to blame. 40. They deliberately step outside their comfort zone on a regular basis. 39. They ask themselves uncomfortable questions about their own business or career regularly. 38. They seek feedback from people who won't be afraid to tell them an unpleasant truth. 37. They don't surround themselves only with people who agree with everything they say. 36. They update their beliefs when new facts show up, instead of clinging to old opinions out of stubbornness. 35. They learn a new subject or skill every year, regardless of age. 34. They treat education as a lifelong process, not something that ends with a diploma. 33. They invest in their own skills before investing in someone else's business. 32. They study the successes and failures of other companies in their industry. 31. They analyze their competitors regularly, not just once. 30. They notice trends early, not once everyone else is already talking about them. 29. They act quickly when they spot a real opportunity instead of putting it off. 28. They turn an idea into a concrete first step within 48 hours. 27. They don't wait for perfect conditions before taking action. 26. They start small to test an idea before making big investments. 25. They're willing to spend money testing a hypothesis instead of endlessly theorizing on paper. 24. They review their budget and financial plan at least once a quarter. 23. They keep an emergency fund for unexpected situations separate from their investments. 22. They don't panic and sell assets during a market downturn. 21. They see a falling market as an opportunity to buy, not just a threat. 20. They keep part of their capital in cash specifically for moments of market panic. 19. They regularly give away part of their income to charity or causes that matter to them. 18. They treat money as a tool for influence and freedom, not as an end in itself. 17. They deliberately teach their kids or younger relatives financial literacy. 16. They don't hide the real state of their finances from their family. 15. They write out a financial and life plan at least once a year. 14. They treat their health as an asset that directly affects their income. 13. They choose business partners as carefully as they choose a co-investor. 12. They value their word and reputation above short-term gain. 11. They invest in relationships for years ahead, not just for one-time deals. 10. They know how to negotiate so both sides come out ahead over the long run. 9. They regularly measure progress with actual numbers, not just a general feeling. 8. They don't compare themselves to other people's highlight reels on social media. They compare themselves to who they were before. 7. They protect their attention as fiercely as they protect their money, avoiding pointless content. 6. They surround themselves with an environment that pushes them toward growth, not stagnation. 5. They're willing to wait years for one genuinely great opportunity instead of grabbing at every single one that comes along. 4. They sell an asset once its price has run ahead of its real value, even if it was a favorite. 3. They don't buy something just because everyone else is buying it. 2. They treat the amount of time money stays invested as the single most important factor in growing wealth. And number 1, the most important habit out of all 100. They start taking action before they feel fully ready, because they understand that the time spent waiting for the perfect moment costs more than any mistake they might make by starting too early. That's all 100 habits, from the simplest to the most important. Notice that almost none of them require millions of dollars to start. Almost every single one can be applied starting tonight. Leave a comment and tell me which of these 100 habits you already have and which one you're going to add to your life this week. Subscribe, because there's a lot more coming on how the wealthiest people on the planet actually think about money.